Hi, welcome back to Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Judy Nathans,
And I'm still Robert Winters.
and we're going to continue with election talk. Or
Yeah, well, we could do a little bit more on election.
oh, right.
talk,
Also, the hot issues of the day.
and some hot issues of the day.
Right.
Perhaps just one thing, since we were just talking about it in the last couple of minutes
Oh,
here.
PR.
It's for whatever reason, people seem to think I know a thing or two about proportional
Well,
representation.
you've kind of.
It might be true.
It is.
And I even agreed to one candidate to do some workshops, and I had a few requests from various candidates and people in their campaigns, campaign managers who wanted to talk about some of the realities of proportional representation, either strategically or just technically. Not everybody feels competent in it. It's not that complicated, but so I was individually responding to people, but I have this notion, and I haven't fully formulated it yet.
Yeah.
But I'm an academic fella. I teach classes, and I have an office at MIT. And I was thinking basically of having something like PR office hours.
Well,
Is that crazy?
Well, it makes it sound like people can drop in. I think you're seeing a little more
Well, I would
structure than
schedule
that.
it. I would schedule it. So I'm.
But also get a classroom next door.
Yeah.
That's bigger.
So I'll just make sure that that's okay with
Yeah.
people.
Otherwise, you'd be doing 25 different office hours.
Exactly. I don't want to do that.
No.
But the thing is rather than just meet everybody over coffee or a beer or whatever, I'd be drinking a lot of coffee and beer if I did
Just
it
do
that
more
way.
do more structural, academic.
And so I'm at some point, and I'm not saying this is absolutely happening, but I'm inclined to send an invitation out soon to candidates in their campaigns, if there are any people in their campaigns, or if the candidates themselves would like to come down, and we'll have a room. We have a kitchen area with a coffee pot.
Is it set up for recording?
No, but we could do that.
Yeah, it'd be nice
But I
if we
don't know
could
that.
get.
Yeah.
No, but maybe getting a CCTV
Right.
involved.
But
This would be a very worthwhile.
I have
thing.
if people would like to actually see how the election count works exactly, I have it loaded up on my office computer. We could actually run some actual elections with actual
with
ballot
a big
data.
screen that shows.
We
and
could
all that,
project it
yeah.
onto the screen in the front of the room and just watch how it all works. So
That would be great.
So anyway, that's something I'm inclined to do. I mean, we've talked about maybe doing that on this program. We may still
No.
do that, but
Well, I like that
We
idea
have to
because then if we
pre-record
could get it to record.
well, yeah, we
That
can
would
do
be
that
great.
and make it available that way. So anyway, be on the lookout, or if anybody watching this program has a desire to participate in
Or
PR.
produce it. No.
Well, right, that's right too, right?
You could be a
we're begging
director. Yeah, be
Right.
the producer.
for PR office hours.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly happy to do it.
You've got the talent, you've got the location.
Yeah, we got the
You
data.
just need the logistics, yeah.
Yeah,
and the
absolutely.
data, right.
Just, and again, totally impartial,
Right.
not favoring any candidates, but people do ask. They say, how do you think about a PR election campaign?
You mean if you're a candidate?
Yeah, people
Yeah.
do think, well, what do I do? Do I campaign citywide? Do I target neighborhoods?
Well,
is it any different than other
Theoretically, you
election
only need
systems?
about 1,800 votes, so.
Yeah, we don't
Not a
know.
lot.
We don't know for sure how many votes it's going to take this year. I think 2 years ago there
What's the
were.
percentage of Cambridge people that vote in municipal elections? Pretty low, isn't it?
Well, it depends on if you count active voters or all voters.
All voters.
Municipal elections don't have very good participation
No.
much of anywhere anymore. But we
It's
had.
like half of what would vote in a presidential, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago there were 17,959 ballots cast. 105 of them were invalid, mostly blanks. So there were 17,854 valid ballots,
Okay.
which made for the election quota for city council to be 1786. So, not to get too
And how many
technical
people
here.
voted in the 2016 election then?
Uh,
6,000, something like that, 35.
Yeah, but presidential elections are always the high.
Right, but I'm just saying,
rollers.
it's half.
Yeah, so there's a good chance. I think there's a lot of, just like we have a lot of candidates out this year. Largely, they've told me, energized by the fact that they were
wanna
unhappy
be in-
with the November 2016
So they want to get involved
president.
in electoral
So
politics.
yeah,
right.
so it's actually
Lot of women,
motivated a lot
yeah,
of candidates. So my guess, I have nothing to base this on other than intuition, is that voter turnout will go up this year. I don't know that. So let's just say if it
Gotta
was.
be registered by when?
It's like mid-October.
Which is a big issue statewide now.
Yeah, so if there was just shy of 18,000 people voting 2 years ago, my guess it could be 19, 20,000. It could be. It could go down. We don't know.
Go down, yeah.
But let's just say we were fortunate and it got to be 20,000.
Yeah.
Then that means the
Quota's
election
gonna
quota
be
for city
higher,
council
right.
would be 1/10 of that, so it would be 2,000. So being a successful city council, I've had people have asked me actually from the Center for Voting. Well, I guess they're called Fair Vote now. What percentage of quota, the election quota, should you aim for if you want to have half a chance of actually winning?
1,000.
I would say if you have about my guess. Again, there've been, I look back, going back to 1941.
You're talking about getting number one votes?
Number one votes, yeah. Because number one votes,
Those are
they are highly
gold.
predictive.
Yeah.
There have been people who came in one early year who came in 5th in number one votes and was not elected. There were people who came in like 12th or 13th or so in number one votes,
and
they were elected.
Because of all the transfers.
Yeah, because of the transfers. It depends on how much vote splitting there was and whether all the votes.
In a way, it's kind of fair because it sort of distributes.
Well, that's really what
that's what it's about.
Single transferable vote proportional representation elections are meant to do.
Preferences.
Is to take care of that, right?
Yeah.
So, but my guess, and just looking at relatively recent elections, is that that you probably want to get about 70% of quota. Now, if you can get 100% of quota, you're in, right? If you get 200% of quota, you've got double quota. Everybody's going to want to be your friend.
Which means all those surplus votes will go to someone else.
To the second preferences, of those ballots selected for transfer.
Selected for transfer.
Yeah, that's another matter.
Yeah,
the Cincinnati method,
that's
right?
the secret.
We could, with the secret sauce of Cambridge elections. But so what does that mean? It means that if you want to be a successful candidate, a good guess is that if quota turns out to be in the neighborhood of 2,000, might be less, might be more, we don't know, then you probably want to get at least 1,400 number one votes. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Now I've heard one other person says, no, you got to aim for about 1,800. No, I don't think that's true unless you are a friend of nobody else, because you will probably get transfers. If you did that well, you're going to be ahead of a lot of people who've got a lot of votes who aren't going to win. And when they're counted out, you're going to get their ballots.
Right.
Or at least you're going to get your fair share of those ballots, as long as you're named on those ballots.
Yeah.
All right. So, so my best guess is if quota's 2,000-ish, you better get about 1,400 number one votes. Now, because there are so many candidates, and there are far more strong candidates than usual, it might actually be a little lower. Right, because it's spread out a little thinner, right? So it's just not possible for all the viable candidates to get that close. So but it's okay, fine. So if it's not 1,400, it could be 1,300 or something like that. But in some recent elections, you could get in with this there have been elections where people were elected and got less than 1,000
on the first count. Wow.
Right, so that's possible, but I think if the quota's up around 2,000, no, ain't gonna happen. I am not going to divulge my predictions here, but I have already run my numbers of who I think is going to get more or less what. I mean, it's a lot of. I mean, there are some candidates you can just tell pretty easily they're not going to do super well.
Yeah. But
there's actually probably at least 14 who are going to do reasonably well in the probably 500 and upward ballots range, which is good. I would say there's about 13 or 14 viable candidates who have a shot of winning. If I really get harsh and say, well, who do I really think I can bring it down to maybe 10 or 11? My prediction is there's going to be a dog fight for that 9th seat.
Wasn't there always a dog fight?
Not always. I
thought once a year it was like a question of a few votes or something.
Yeah, it's kind of
recount.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Was that Minka's year?
Yeah, there have been a few ones. School committees had some really close ones for the last seat.
Oh right, see that.
Yeah. So it happens. But I just think just from the nature of the ballots that you can see some things happening. There's another thing it's, I think, worth mentioning, not so much for the school committee, but on the city council side.
Yeah.
What is the effect of having multiple vacancies, or vacancies at all, on the city council on the likelihood of incumbents being ousted? I mean, I'm not the only one who's speculating.
They wouldn't be, but there are some that I think are.
Well, actually,
Yeah. Oh, you have
I
some
think
statistics here?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good, of course.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
so,
Actually,
can we do this?
Yeah,
Where do we go
actually,
to?
if you click on the
Do the number of vacancies?
Yeah, do the number of vacancies. So,
There we,
this is going to be a little esoteric, okay?
All right,
So
that's
apologies
okay.
in advance here,
Yeah,
okay?
that's all right.
This was actually, I was asked about this some years ago, and I won't give you the whole of it, but basically there were two questions. One was, if a person did fabulously well and topped the ticket in a given year, how well do they typically do the following year? And for the most part, if you top the ticket one year, chances are you're going to do pretty well the following year.
Yeah.
Walter Sullivan being the champ of it all, who would top the ticket almost every year.
Look at his name
He
down
just
there.
ran off so many years where he topped the
Goodness.
ticket,
Yeah,
right?
right, well, over here, yeah.
So typically, back in the 40s, there's one candidate who topped the ticket one year, came in fourth. Actually, two of them in the 40s. In more recent years, there have been some pretty fabulous, precipitous drops. In 1997 election, I think it was, actually I have to read this correct.
Oh, 95.
So he went from first to eighth.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that was either in the 97th election. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right?
That's right there, yeah.
So he really, really dropped. And in the last election, the most recent election, 2015, Leland Chung had topped the ticket.
Exactly.
In 2013,
I remember that,
and
yeah.
then in the 2015 election, he went from first to eighth.
Exactly.
Okay, so now the ticket topper last time around was Nadeem Mazen, who's not running this year, so
you couldn't put that in
can't
there,
really
yeah.
sort of say how that's going to shake out.
Right.
But another thing here, again, this little chart here, I also have here these columns per year of how many vacancies there were. So next to the year, it tells you how many vacancies there were, and then how many new faces arrived the following year.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
And if you look at that, what you see, from 1949, 2 vacancies, 3 new faces. I won't run through all of these ones here. Actually, probably the biggest upset one was in 2013. There were 2 vacancies. And there were 4 new faces.
Four new faces, wow.
Ken Reeves and Mika Van Busicum lost their seats as incumbents.
I think that could happen.
Yeah, actually, if you look at it, it is actually more the norm that when there's multiple vacancies, you end up with 3 new faces. Now, I'm not saying that as a warning.
But this is interesting. Look at 1977. There's 0 vacancies, but 4.
We'll go back one more thing. Which one, 1997?
No, 77. 0 vacancies, but 4 new faces.
Right. So
that was a big ouster.
Yeah. Now, I don't know exactly what that was, but that was the year they had something called the Cambridge Convention.
Oh.
So there was it was a whole different way. It was essentially the replacement for the CCA slate that year.
Okay.
And it was just a whole different way of doing things.
So I guess
so a lot of different things happened that year, but that's true.
I'm going to make a prediction.
Everybody was running for re-election, and there were 4 incumbents were defeated.
I'm going to make a prediction that at least 1 incumbent is not going to make it.
The statistically speaking, that is the probable outcome.
Yeah, at least 1.
Now, should I tell you who that person is?
No way. No, we don't.
No way.
No.
Okay. All right. I mean.
No.
I'm not. Definitely not going to do that. And it
you
also.
don't really know, Mr. Crystal Ball.
You don't really, and actually the problem is this is sort of the Heisenberg problem too. Is that when you
that was in Breaking Bad, wasn't it?
Well, the problem is here is that if people think that I know a thing or two about this, I end up affecting the game. Oh. So I have to shut up. So all I'm pointing out here is that multiple vacancies period, but really multiple vacancies do significantly increase the likelihood that there be more than the number of vacancies here.
Interesting.
Right? So you may have a new face, in addition to the 2 who you know are going to be new faces.
Wow.
Okay? So, now you can think about that, right?
Yeah.
Again, you might also speculate, but I won't name it here on TV, who do you think is going to top the ticket this year?
On where? On TV, what do you mean?
This on this program here.
Oh.
Who's going to get the most number one votes, right?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Now, the reason why
Oh,
I'm not
I
going to
know
say
who-
that too,
yeah.
well, we can say it privately, is that people say, oh, then that person is safe, so they don't need my number one votes, and then it
No.
affects the number one votes.
Yes.
You see? So it is
why
a
they didn't vote
delicate
for
little
Hillary.
game here, and
Yeah.
there are unfortunately some voters who feel they want to game the system.
Right,
So rather than voting their preferences in real order, which is what you really should do,
yes.
people will start saying, well,
If I do this, yeah.
if I do this here, then maybe I can get not only my favorite, but also this other one.
Yeah,
There are at least 2 instances I can name where persons that happened, and incumbents who
did not.
were shockingly thrown
Wow.
out. And people said, what? How did that happen? How did that happen?
Yeah.
Well, that's how it happened. The perception of a candidate being so-called
Yeah.
safe actually can be a very
How
dangerous
many people
thing.
didn't vote in the last president? 42% of people that could have voted did not vote.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. So anyway, so that's, I think that's probably plenty of political chatter
Yeah.
for this year.
We should get to some of the issues that might show
Yeah.
up in some of these forums that are gonna come
Yeah,
up, right?
and actually, right now, like I know the Mid-Cambridge Neighborhood Association has their date set for forum. I have a calendar.
do?
Yeah,
Oh,
if
you
you go to
already
the
have?
Cambridge candidate pages, there's a
Okay,
calendar that sort of
great.
shows them, and I do that just as a public service so that people can know when the dates are available, so there's no conflicts.
Okay,
So we've been doing that. So the Porter Square, I think Mid-Cambridge is
so
maybe.
they've already scheduled them?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, just a few. Mid-Cambridge, I think, is going to be, October 11th, and Porter Square is going to be October 18th.
well, here you go,
Right.
all right.
But, I'll just sort of know what
Yeah,
it is.
show, yeah,
So you
this
can
is,
go to the
just click
candidate
on,
pages and go
right,
there.
and then
So,
there's a link to
yeah,
it.
so this is just done as a
Oh.
public service so that people
So
can
these
know.
include kickoff
I've been,
parties
you know,
as well as.
Yeah, in past years,
Yeah.
I didn't always put in kickoffs because I
But I'm
didn't.
glad you did.
Yeah, I've been doing that here only because I wanted to just make sure, 2 candidates didn't clash.
So the very first one then is September 6th, it looks like.
Of candidate
wards,
forms,
yes.
this Ward 6 is scheduling
Democrats,
ones.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so anyway, there'll be more, right?
Green Cambridge is
Tradi-
already in there.
Did we get Green Cambridge in
Yeah,
there
you-
already?
you put it
Okay,
in,
it's in there,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, so I've been doing this for a
Wow.
few years.
Thank you,
There's nothing
Robert.
official about this, but the thing
Well,
is that
it's good to have some
if
planning.
enough people respect it, then it sort of
Yeah.
becomes semi-official
Well, there's the
anyway.
mid-Cambridge, not till October.
Right. Yeah, well, October is really when the candidate
Sure.
forms really
Yeah.
take off. And,
Right.
and let me just say, and I've probably said it before, is that the purpose of these candidate forms ideally should be so that voters can find out about the candidates.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes, there's not nearly as many voters come to them as should, and I would hope that would change. But it is an incredibly helpful thing for new candidates.
Yes,
Because if you've never actually been put on the spot
yeah,
in a place that's slightly competitive, it's more of a forum, it's not really a debate or anything.
yeah, depends on who the moderator is, too.
It depends on who the moderator is, depends on the format. The Mid-Cambridge group
Yeah.
tends to
They
have all
have the
these
tables,
tables,
yeah.
which I actually like the way they do it.
And you switch around by issue.
And you switch
yes?
around by issue,
Right.
and if you basically have 27 candidates all asking the same boring
Exactly,
question,
yeah,
it's a real waste of time.
exactly.
So I would hope
You have
that
to have
other,
a better way to do it.
yeah, I just hope some of the other organizations sort of think a little more carefully
Mhm.
how to do this.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite formats was the
Yeah.
goldfish bowl, where there were questions just in a goldfish bowl.
Oh,
You as a
that you
candidate,
could submit.
you had no idea. You just reached
Ah.
in, took out the question, and that was
Wow.
your question. And I was pretty well informed, so I thought this works well for me.
Yeah,
For some other candidates, it was disastrous
Yeah.
because the only thing they knew were things they prepped for.
well, that
Yeah.
would be a good one.
Well, but that's really my point, is that
Although I do think maybe someone should be looking at that goldfish bowl to make sure there's something not really ludicrous. It's unfair.
well, actually, that's another problem too.
Yeah.
Again, here I am, sort of like
Yeah.
the grand vizier of Cambridge elections. But what really happens is often you have to filter the questions. Like if you just ask the audience, fill out a card, and then we'll
Right.
ask the questions.
That's usually the way it's
There's
done.
always this group of people who are hard
Yeah,
on some narrow issue.
but they all
And
put
then
it down.
everybody
yeah.
gets pulled out. Oh, how do you feel about the silver maple forest or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah,
Which
yeah.
honestly, it might be a nice and it may be a marginally important thing, but honestly, that's really not what we should all be wasting
Yeah.
our time on talking
Yeah,
about as candidates. So I think that you really need to not only
somebody filter to see how many
You need-
people, okay, how
you
many
need
are
a-
in this, it's 10 people interested in this,
Yeah.
let's get one good
so
question to
you
cover.
lay them on a table and 2 or 3
Yeah.
people should sort through them and pick out the ones
Right.
that are most
You need,
appropriate.
that's where the moderator is important, or the
Yeah,
person.
the organization really
Yeah.
needs to do it well.
Yeah.
I mean, don't just sort of give the same question 27 times, but don't ask ridiculous and unimportant questions.
Don't some of these organizations send out a questionnaire to some candidates?
Yeah,
I think Green Cambridge
A
does
Better
that,
Cambridge
maybe?
does that. I think
Better Cambridge
Green
does that.
Cambridge does that. I'll betcha the Cambridge Residents Alliance does something like that.
And then does it get posted on their site?
Typically, they'll do something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's another way to get information.
Yeah, so for some of these organizations, they're
Yeah.
not necessarily doing endorsements, but they're basically saying like Green Cambridge,
Yeah.
if they say, well, Green Cambridge would actually be in a bit rather ticklish situation if they had to endorse candidates, since their former president is a candidate, right?
Right.
So they'd be accused of
Well,
bias,
they
right?
could have a slate,
Right.
whatever.
Well, they could, but the thing is that I think an organization like that, which is
Mhm.
so issue specific,
Yeah,
does better simply by getting as much information out about how people stand
Exactly.
on issues without doing endorsements.
oh yeah, which,
But-
have
but-
they endorsed before?
I don't know if they have,
No,
but I think, and I hope they wouldn't actually. But
No,
like the
this is not a
Residents
forum,
Alliance
yeah.
will, I
right,
can guarantee it.
right,
2 years ago, Nadine Madison had its own slate,
right.
so that I guess that's sort of like endorsements,
Yeah.
right? I don't know whether that's getting
Yeah.
organized. I assume it is.
Yeah,
Maybe not by him, but by somebody.
well, he's organizing for someone.
Maybe,
probably,
yeah, you know. So there'll probably be slates, so there'll be some endorsements. A Better Cambridge has endorsed candidates in the past,
Mhm.
right? Or at least they've ranked them, which is for all intents and purposes an endorsement, because if you're like a 501c whatever, you might have some restrictions, so people love to dance
Well, they've had a
around.
forum before.
Yeah, so
yeah,
you can do
so-
forums, but you know, the question of endorsements or even rankings,
Yeah.
which I would interpret as effectively like
That's an
endorsements.
endorsement, yeah.
You know, it's ticklish.
Yeah,
So now the CCA back in their days, they actually would set up a special CCA election committee. So they, you know, the endorsements came, I think, from the board, but all of the actual promotion was done
Mhm.
outside of the organization because of legal restrictions. The Cambridge Tenants Union used to have the Cambridge Tenants Election Committee that did the
Yeah.
endorsements, I believe. I think I got that right.
yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of sort of delicate dancing around.
So,
that goes
so
on.
let's just, because we don't have much time left, about 5 minutes, what are some of the issues? Because I know the short-term rental thing is gonna be an
Yeah.
issue, the Volpe project is
Yeah.
attracting a lot of attention, so
How
is that
I
gonna
mean,
impact these?
the issues are really in the eye of the beholder, but
Yeah.
certainly if it was up to me,
Yeah,
right? So if I'm king of Cambridge elections right now, I say, how do you feel about the short-term
Yeah.
rental
of course,
regulation?
you know what, the ordinance is gonna have to be passed actually before they even go
That's
for
right,
form, so
right.
it might be a moot point.
It might be a moot point
Although
in
you
terms
can
of
always
its
make
fact,
amendments
but
and
if
stuff,
the
yeah.
incumbents are using it as a selling point for
True.
why they're
Yeah.
good as gold,
Yeah, I'm not sure
Then-
they are, because I think there's not,
they might
They're
be
not.
running away from it.
well, you know what, I went to the hearing last week and, or the ordinance hearing, and they're not on the same page, a lot of the counselors, so it is,
Yeah,
I think it's gonna get done, because they all see the urgency to get something in place because of all the commercialization of
the
things.
sausage has to be
But
made.
I think,
yeah.
so there may be, pay attention, another ordinance to cover, you said there is one about Volpe?
Yeah, they're gonna have an
Already
ordinance one
scheduled?
maybe around August 2nd on
Okay,
Volpe. The
which
next
is
city
before
council
the
meeting is
city
August
council meeting is
7th or
right.
9th, 7th?
Right,
Yeah.
so there will be a committee report about this hearing, which I think will have to be posted before
Right.
that. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but it's
I
definitely.
think they might be playing it a little bit dangerous if they don't have at least one more get together.
Yeah, I
between
think
now
they
and
really
the
want
council
to. They
meeting.
want, they have to, the big issues are the owner adjacent, like can you have a second unit and rent it out? Which is right now is in there and
Right.
it's fine.
But Dennis Carlone says, I'm not voting for if that's in there.
No, he doesn't say that.
Really?
He just
Okay.
cites Toronto, Vancouver,
Okay.
Seattle, Denver, San Francisco that don't allow that or don't
Right.
to some extent. Then there's the operator-owned rental, which is not the property owner, but what they have to do. And right now it looks like, well, just show evidence of a lease. You don't have to notify. You know, there's confusion about that.
Yeah.
Um,
So there's a few little
and the
details to be
inspection
settled.
guidelines. Some people
Yeah.
find that a little onerous.
Now, I've seen some complicated zoning, hard details worked out on the fly the night of ordination. It's not a good practice.
Yeah.
It actually gets pretty ugly and mean when it
I mean,
happens.
basically, they don't want to hurt the mom and pops or the single, you know,
Right.
trying to find a way to please people, but also stopping this wholesale rent, hotel-like things.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
they do need to get some kind of regulation in place.
They can.
And I think most of them seem to understand that
Right, and
instinctively.
this would at least basically, they can always maybe amend it, get that in place so that they would be in violation, like the
That's right. Get something in place by August.
one that's cited
Yeah.
a lot, that Nancy Ryan, on Essex Street.
Yeah,
9
yeah.
units that are,
Yeah, you don't want to have people buying up
They would be in
buildings just to
violation,
run
so
them
they
as,
would have to
as
then,
de facto
right.
hotels.
and register with the city, which would then eliminate the need of, that's the other thing, telling all your neighbors, because people felt that's crazy,
Yeah,
which is, so,
yeah,
a registry,
right.
you wanna do it?
Yeah.
Get
So
registered.
that's a big one. I think
Yeah.
the Volpe site future is going to be the talk of
Yeah.
the town. Certainly,
What
if,
about Foundry Building, that, there should
And
be coming up
Foundry,
about that
yeah.
soon, I think.
honestly, if they have
Yeah.
an East Cambridge forum, which I hope they would, because
That's
there's a
gonna
lot of hot
cover
stuff
the
down there. But I don't know
Foundry,
who's doing it.
Volpe, you're right.
Big stuff,
Yeah.
you know. The whole Envision thing. Okay, what's
Yeah.
your read of Envision
Yeah.
Cambridge? Where is it going? Give me your picture
They
of
just
the
changed
future
the meeting, it was
Cambridge.
supposed to be tomorrow to like September, do you see that?
That is one of them, but I'm
Yeah.
on the committee that I'm on. The advisory
Yeah.
committee is
That's
meeting tomorrow night. Envision Cambridge Advisory Committee.
Oh, there was
Yeah,
something.
at the senior center.
Oh,
But there was
Oh,
another one that
interesting.
was supposed to happen
At the same time.
simultaneously.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, yeah. But
All right.
we're meeting.
you're still meeting,
Yeah,
alright.
I think we are.
I don't know, check it out, Robert.
Well, I'd be surprised if otherwise I'll show up. You know.
I don't know, something I got a notice about.
Yeah. So a couple of little quick. We only got
Yeah, quick,
45
quick, quick,
seconds here.
Next week we're gonna have candidates, right?
We're gonna have candidates next week. We're gonna have Alana Mallon and we're gonna have Will
Running for city
MacArthur.
council, Will MacArthur, who's running for school
Yeah,
committee.
yeah. There's going to be some big projects happening right around here in Central Square. As we look out the window right
Yeah,
here,
what's
they're
happening?
going to start doing the demolition pretty soon
Oh,
for
for
Mass and
Main.
Main.
Ooh,
Right? It's going
right.
to take a couple of years to build. And Patrick Barrett's building, where Tuscanini's is, they're going to be doing some modifications
Oh.
to turn that into a hotel use. But they're keeping the businesses running the whole
Good.
time, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
Tuscanini's is
Still on.
perfectly safe. Don't worry
Alright.
about that. So.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, we'll see you next week, I guess, on
Yeah.
Cambridge Inside Out.
Bye.